I wanted to ask you, how would it be to include astronomy in the curriculum or the studies of Indian students?
That's a wonderful question, Prasad. And this is something I really advocate and I talk about. Initially, if we talk about it, astronomy is a growing field. It has been there for thousands of years. Whenever I'm, teaching students, whenever I'm interacting with a group of students, I always mention astronomy as the mother of all sciences. There's a simple reason, just giving you a very small basic example which anyone can understand. If we talk about the early man, I'm going to the early man, which, when they were born, they had no idea that they could go around, they could explore anything out there, right? Because they were, kind of scared that if I, move a little bit ahead out of, from my place, I won't be able to return back, because there was no concept of directions or anything at all, right? So this is when astronomy came to picture. They used to travel whatever they could in one day and come back by the evening, so that, they are not lost eventually, right? Nowadays it's so easy with Google Maps and everything around, isn't it? But it wasn't at that time. So the thing is, at that time, what people did was they actually started looking at the stars, because after the evening they had nothing to do, they had nothing at all. Plus, there was no light pollution, of course. So they had the clearest skies that mankind has ever observed. So they actually saw the skies, they saw how things are moving, and they came up with the concept of directions using the pole star, and they came up with the concept of directions. That is how they started moving. Hence, if we talk about it, all the other sciences that have come up in today's world, somehow they all started because of astronomy. So, such an important core subject should always be there in our curriculums. But if we talk about it, we just have that one single chapter about the solar system and the planets that is being taught in schools, right?
Right.
And above that, anything that goes over our head. And even nowadays, I'll just tell you, to anyone who's listening this, just a simple thing, just a simple experiment. If you go to anyone, if you ask them, yeah, which is the brightest star in our night sky, I'm sure 80% of the people will answer, oh, it's the pole star, isn't it?
Right.
Because that is how we've connected things. We aren't taught things in detail. We are just, given an overview in our curriculum. So, and let me tell you, that's not true. Polestar is not the brightest star. It is the 48th brightest star. Sirius
Oh,
is the brightest star. So, talking about the brightness, that is not a parameter to find the North Star or the directions, of course. So, the thing is, coming back to your point, I'm sorry, I just got a little bit lost in between. Coming back to your point, in the curriculums, yes, such a subject is very important, because it tells us not just about our planet but what lies beyond it. And nowadays, I'm sure other countries have started progressing towards this. They've tried to include this in their curriculum in one way or the other. I'm sure India is also working on the same track, and I'm sure within a few years, with the constant efforts of people like you and us, some people like us would prompt the government and the education department to actually put in things like this in the curriculum, so that people know about this field, because space is the field of future. Just like we had an IT boom a few years ago, we are looking forward to a space boom in the coming decade. So before that, we should be taught this. Nowadays, you'll see small kids are learning coding and all those things, isn't it? So it's essential if they're learning something like that. Astronomy is a core subject. Again, it is something that you can actually, it's something tangible. You can actually look at it out there. You can feel the, night sky. So hence, it is an essential part which should be included in the curriculum, of course, in the coming years. And I really hope this happens.
yeah, that's really true. For me, I would say that I was really fascinated. I aimed to go for aerospace engineering since I was in 10th standard. I loved rockets and all that thing. But astronomy was something I got introduced when I got into engineering. That too not from the curriculum but from the other resources like friends and the facts. Engineering is something where you go through diverse things, you get to learn many things, and for me astronomy was one such thing. So what I think is that even in the aerospace engineering syllabus, astronomy should be given a very important place, because discovering is something very highly related to astronomy. Means if you want to discover something in space, astronomy is the basics you need. So,
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point, Prasad. Coming from the same background as you, the aerospace engineering background, I would like to add this. I was very much bummed when I got to know, that come on, I'll be studying just one subject related to astronomy in my complete 4 years. And that too was a subject which everyone took very lightly. Eventually, astronomy is not a part of even aerospace engineering, and that made me really, go. I went buzzing over the fact that how is it even happening? Because one of my personal goals was, my personal aim to go for aerospace engineering was to learn more about astronomy. But going there, realizing that it's not even a part of the curriculum as such, we are not even being taught this in the first 3 years of our engineering. That was very, sad actually. And I believe, in the coming years, this will be improved, and astronomy, it deserves a separate course, not just a part of things like aerospace engineering or your basic curriculum. It is such a vast field that it deserves a separate space as a separate course out there in different educational institutions. And I really hope that people work on it. And yes, for people like you and me who have a thing for astronomy, in the future, young kids with the same mindset, they get to study more and more about it, so that when they are at our age, they literally can directly go and work on their research projects instead of trying for things and trying for other opportunities.